There are people whose achievements impress you, and then there are people whose journey reminds you of what is possible. This is the story of a woman who represents Africa at the highest level of global leadership. Today, we explore the story of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and the courage it takes to be the first. Every nation has a face that the world remembers them by. For Nigeria, that face is Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the economist, reformer, global trailblazer, the first African and first woman to lead the World Trade Organization.
Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala set two records as the first African and a woman to hold the position of the Director General at the World Trade Organization.
She is the first woman and the first African to lead the World Trade Organization.
History has been made today. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has been appointed the new chief of the World Trade Organization, becoming the first woman to ever lead the Switzerland-based institution and the first African citizen to take on the role.
But behind the headlines and honors is a woman who carried the country's hope in her hands and paid the ultimate price of being first. Ngozi was raised by teachers who believed that excellence was the purest form of gratitude. She was raised in a home that valued education, and there she learned that education could build bridges across class and culture. She studied at Harvard and MIT, where she mastered economics. However, beyond her top-notch education, she learned service, and she served in any capacity she was called. She once said, "If your education doesn't lift others, it is a waste of knowledge." When Ngozi left World Bank to serve Nigeria, people said she was taking a huge risk, but to her it was responsibility. It was a call to serve her motherland, and that she did. As finance minister, she pushed for transparency and saved billions for a nation drowning in debt. She insisted that numbers must serve the people and not politics. But reform is a lonely work. She faced resistance and threats. Still, she showed up every day, not because it was easy, but because it was the right thing to do. Being first means being the target. For every praise for her bold reforms came reparations. For every economic win she brought to her motherland, there was resistance. Yet she refused to shrink. She led with evidence. She led with grace. She led with elegance. After decades of public service, Ngozi became the Director General of the World Trade Organization, a position no African woman has ever heard. It was a confirmation that you see competence, you see capacity, you see excellence. It doesn't know color, it doesn't know race, it doesn't know gender. Ngozi brought to the global stage the same values she carried from home: transparency, fairness, and she did it all without losing her humility.
Globalization has lifted up more than 1 billion people out of poverty. What we need to do is not walk away from it, but reimagine it, to pull those who were left out from the margins into the mainstream of global trade.
People see Ngozi the powerhouse, the woman whose economic policies saved Nigeria. However, behind the titles, behind the awards, the recognitions, is a wife, a mother, a grandmother who finds joy in simplicity. Her marriage to Dr. Ikemba Iweala, a surgeon and an academic, has been her constant anchor. And together, these two have built a life of service, proof that love can coexist with ambition, with leadership. Okonjo-Iweala teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to be defined by it. To be first is to stand out, is to stand alone. But to stand so firm that others find the ground beneath your feet. She reminds us that you can be both brilliant and powerful, and at the same time peaceful and grounded. Her legacy is not in just what she has achieved, but how excellency she represents and honors Africa on the global stage.
How do we decentralize fertilizer production so that the world is not so dependent on any one region? That's what we're also talking about. There you also create jobs in countries that were not part of the global, let's say, fertilizer or vaccine or pharmaceutical supply chain. So why don't we think of that? Why is it that why must it import more than 90% of its medicines and 99% of its vaccines? 1.4 billion people. Why don't you decentralize production there? You create jobs for young people, for women, and at the same time, you bring the countries there into the mainstream of trade and better integrate them. So we can kill two birds with one stone.
In every generation, there is always someone who works so that others may run. For Africa, for women, and I dare say the word, that woman is Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She taught us that being first is not about being better than others. It's about being brave enough to go before them. Courage is not in titles, it's not in trophies. It is in the choice to serve when it is hardest. Our guest today has been Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, a woman who reminds us that leadership at its highest form is service. May her courage teach us to stand firm in truth, to serve with conviction, and to represent Africa in excellence. Join us for the next episode as we uncover another Zara. You will see you again. Ciao.